Alamos Gold beating earnings expectations and reporting record gold production with an increase of 7% of the production year over year. Joining us now to talk mining operations, the price of gold, and much more, John McCluskey, President and CEO of Alamos Gold. It's good to see you, John. Are you more interested in explaining why gold has been hitting new highs? You want to be a macro economist and I don't know, a Fed watcher, a monetarist? I don't know what we can use. We can do that. Or do you want to talk about the best way to run a gold company and how that's done? What do you want to talk about first?
Those are two of my favorite subjects, but I'll tell you, I'm with everybody else. I'm certainly observing what's going on, but trying to guess what's going to happen next is that's a serious challenge.
Yeah, well, I know that it can be over historically. You can have a ratio to barrels of oil or to a decent suit on what an ounce of gold goes for. But certainly 37 trillion in total debt and things like QE and rate cuts and all the things that we see, gold is scarce. And even though you were able to raise production by 7%, it's really hard to produce gold, isn't it?
That's a very true statement. I mean, we're probably one of the few companies that's been bucking the trend. And it's probably one of the advantages of being a smaller company as opposed to one of the big giants where, they're producing 4 to 5 million ounces of gold a year. And that's a very difficult job to replace that just to sustain where you are. In our case, we've been rapidly growing our reserves for years now. Put it in perspective, 10 years ago, we had a single mine and less than 2 million ounces of reserves. Today, we're operating from 4 gold mines, and we have 14 million ounces of reserves just reported yesterday. I mean, that's an extraordinary sort of contrarian sort of position to be in relative to the rest of the sector. And it's because, from a very early day, we took a contrarian view in terms of starting this company and the way we run it. So, I would say that on that subject of what's the best way to run a gold mining company, you've got to act like a contrarian. Investors don't typically like it. In theory, they do, but in practice, they don't. But we would never have been able to build the company to where it is today over the last 22 years if we weren't taking this contrarian approach.
So do you have people out scouring for properties, or do you just do M&A? Do you just look around and try to figure out what makes most sense? What's a competitor that's at a price we can afford, and then you got to look at balance sheet concerns, obviously, and everything else. But that's what I figure you need to focus on. Is if you're going to grow, it's got to be through acquisitions, doesn't it?
Well, that's how we started. I mean, think back to 2001 when the gold price was under $300 an ounce. Of course, today it's nearly 3,000. But in 2001, when nobody thought gold was ever going to see the light of day again, we stepped in and bought an asset off of one of the major mining companies. It was an option agreement, essentially, that it required a $500,000 down payment. $10 million to acquire a project that where the major had delineated about 2 million ounces of gold, but couldn't see a way for any of that production to be profitable. So they sold it to us for about $10 million after pouring roughly $50 million into defining it. And we took it on with, and the day we signed that deal in November 2001, there wasn't a single ounce on that property that you could produce profitably. But over time, we've generated over 700 million in free cash flow from that project, and produced over 3 million ounces of gold, and it's still going. It's been operating for the last 20 years. So it's been tremendous.
That's amazing. Before we go, I just want to get your comments on Fort Knox, and I mean, I think it goes all the way back to James Bond and Goldfinger, and it has not. People haven't looked to see what's there since I graduated from high school. So 1974. Do you think we know what's there? Do you think that the number that we're given for how many tons are there, do you have any feel for that? I mean, I've seen lots of movies where people go in and they've already got the gold. Thieves have already taken it. There might be nothing there, according to some fictional movies.
Well, I'll tell you, be a lot more confident in what they're saying if they audited it. You know, I'm on the World Gold Council board, and we audit the World Gold Council gold holdings every quarter. You know, we never stop the audit process there.
What a concept, yeah. So,
you know, why haven't they audited their gold reserves for such a long time? I don't know why they wouldn't do that, but you know, I think if this administration presses for an audit, that'll be a good thing for everybody. I think it will bolster confidence. But until they do so, who knows?
Right. All right. It's good. It's a fascinating subject, and it is. It's the most valuable of all the pet rocks, I think. I know there's some other ones, I guess, platinum, things like that. But it's always good to talk about it. Yeah, $3,000, $300. I didn't realize in 2001 that.
In the last year, it's up almost $1,000 an ounce.
Wow.
So I mean, gold
crazy.
has been really on a tear for sure.
Right.